I remember the night she said it, softly, almost like she was doing me a favor. "You deserve better," she whispered, after destroying everything that once held my world together. It was raining. Not a movie kind of rain, not poetic. Just that kind of sticky drizzle that makes your skin itch and your chest feel heavier than it should. I stood there, soaked and speechless, holding the last picture we had as a family, crumpled, folded too many times, like the story we told ourselves for years. We were high school sweethearts. We'd built our lives brick by brick. First apartment, first car, a daughter who looked like both of us and none of us all at once. I thought that meant something. I thought commitment was enough. But little by little, she pulled away. Her eyes stopped meeting mine. Her phone lit up more often than her smile. And when she cried on my shoulder every night, I didn't know those tears weren't mine to hold. I didn't lose her in one moment. I lost her in 1,000 almosts. And by the time I realized it, she was already gone. Except she still lived in our house, still used my last name, still pretended, until the night she said it. "You deserve better." As if she hadn't been the one tearing me apart, strand by strand. But this story isn't about how she broke me. It's about how I stitched myself back, every ugly seam, every stubborn thread. Because sometimes, the only way to heal is to bleed first. The first real crack didn't come with a fight. It came with silence. It was a Sunday morning, and I was making pancakes. The way Lily, our daughter, liked them, with blueberries shaped into smiley faces. Ava sat at the table scrolling through her phone, coffee untouched, her expression unreadable. The kind of face you wear at funerals, not breakfast. "Everything okay?" I asked, flipping a pancake. She didn't answer, just blinked like she was trying to remember how to be here. It used to be different. We used to laugh. She used to sit on the counter beside me, stealing bites and pretending she didn't like syrup. But now, even her silence felt choreographed, like a rehearsal for leaving. Lily burst into the kitchen, hair a mess, wearing her pajama top inside out. "Smells like pancakes," she squealed, running to me for a hug. I crouched and caught her mid-jump. She giggled against my shoulder, warm and real and alive. For a second, the world was okay. And then I saw Ava looking at us, not with warmth, not with nostalgia, but with something closer to distance. Like she was watching a scene she used to be part of, but no longer belonged in. That's when I knew. Not the whole truth. Not yet. But I knew something was off. Something had shifted in the way her eyes looked at me, at us. Later that night, as Lily slept in a blanket fort in the living room, I asked Ava again, "Are you okay?" She turned off the TV, looked at me, and for a brief moment, I thought she'd say it. I thought she'd let it fall apart right there. Instead, she said, "I'm just tired." And I believed her. Because love makes you do that. It makes you believe the lies you want to hear, especially when they come wrapped in a voice you still ache for. The signs came like shadows. Quiet, shapeless, but always there if I squinted hard enough. She started going to bed later than usual. Said she couldn't sleep, so she'd read on the couch or scroll through her phone. But when I'd wake up at 2 a.m., the bed would still be cold beside me. She wore perfume to the grocery store, said it made her feel good. Started dressing better too, even for the most mundane errands. Her laughter, when it came, was always louder when she was texting. And there were more passwords now. Her phone, her laptop. I wasn't looking to spy. But I noticed, because how could I not? One night, while she showered, her phone lit up on the nightstand. I didn't mean to look. I truly didn't. But curiosity is a dangerous thing when mixed with suspicion. The name on the screen was saved as Kara from work, but the message read, "Last night, I can't stop thinking about it." My chest hollowed out, like someone scooped the air out of me with a spoon. I put the phone down, walked into the bathroom like nothing happened, and smiled. She smiled back, wet hair clinging to her collarbone, steam wrapping her like fog. I kissed her forehead, told her I'd make tea, and walked out with my heart dragging behind me. That night, I didn't sleep. I just laid beside her, counting the distance between our backs, realizing how far apart two people could be while still touching. But I still wasn't ready to believe it. Not yet. Because denial isn't a wall, it's a cocoon, and I wasn't ready to hatch. I made the tea like I said I would, jasmine, her favorite. I set it down on the nightstand beside her and sat at the edge of the bed. She was scrolling again. The glow of her phone made her face look foreign, almost hollow. "Tea's getting cold," I said. She looked at it, then at me, and gave a half smile that didn't touch her eyes. "Thanks." We sat like that for a minute. Me pretending to read a book I couldn't focus on. Her lost in a world behind a glass screen. The tea remained untouched. I wondered if she even noticed the little things anymore. That I remembered Jasmine. That I still tried. That I hadn't left, even though part of me already had. Lily called out from her room. A nightmare. I got up, tucked her back in, stayed until her breathing slowed. She reached out and held my finger like she used to when she was little. Just that one gesture nearly undid me. When I returned, Ava was asleep, or at least pretending to be. I stared at her back, memorized the slope of her shoulder blade, the way her hair curved at the nape of her neck. It used to be home. Now it was a map I couldn't read. I crawled into bed without brushing my teeth, closed my eyes, and tried to will myself into a version of life where she still loved me. But dreams aren't loyal. That night, they showed me her laughter, but not with me. Her body, but not in our bed. Her eyes, but not the way they used to look at me. The tea was still on the nightstand the next morning, cold, untouched, like me. For weeks, I rehearsed conversations in my head. I saw the message. "Is there someone else? Do you still love me?" But none of them made it past my lips, because I was afraid that once the words were out, there would be no going back. And I wasn't ready to lose the version of us that still existed in Lily's bedtime stories and the photos on our fridge. So instead, I talked about groceries, about bills, about the neighbor's new dog, mundane things, safe things. Because silence, oddly enough, felt like a compromise. As if by not confronting it, I could delay the collapse. She played along. She smiled at the right moments. Kissed me goodbye out of habit, not affection. Some nights, she even curled up next to me like before. But her body was rigid, her breathing shallow, like she was pretending even in sleep. One afternoon, I picked Lily up from school and she asked, "Daddy, why doesn't Mommy laugh anymore?" The question hit like a sledgehammer. I didn't answer right away, just gripped the steering wheel tighter. "She's just tired, sweetheart," I lied. Again. That night, I watched Ava reading in bed. The same way she always did. But I noticed how she clutched the book a little too tightly, how her eyes never really moved across the page. I wanted to ask, God. I wanted to scream. But instead, I just said, "Good night." And she replied, "You too?" Not, "I love you." Not sweet dreams, just, "You too." 3 syllables. The final nails in a coffin of all the words we never said. It was a Thursday when Lily brought home the drawing. She was so proud, bouncing through the door with crayon-streaked hands and a smile too big for her face. "Daddy, look, it's us." She held up the picture. 3 stick figures standing under a big sun, with a house behind them. One figure had long brown hair, Ava. The other was me, tall and square-shouldered, and in the middle, Lily, with a pink triangle dress and a crown. But there was something else. Off to the side, in the corner of the page, was a 4th figure, small, smiling, standing close to Ava, holding her hand. "Who's that?" I asked, keeping my voice light. Lily tilted her head. "That's Mommy's friend, the one who makes her laugh when you're not home." My throat tightened. I smiled anyway. "He looks nice," I managed to say. "Yeah," she giggled. "He wears shiny shoes." She skipped away, leaving the drawing on the table like a confession in crayon. I stared at it long after she'd gone to her room. The lines were shaky, but the truth was clear. Clearer than any message. Clearer than any suspicion I'd tried to suppress. Kids see everything. They may not understand it all, but they feel the weight, the tension, the cracks. That night, I folded the drawing and slipped it into the back of my journal. Not because I needed proof, but because I needed to remember the moment I finally stopped lying to myself. She wasn't tired. She wasn't distracted. She was already gone. That weekend, while Ava took Lily to her ballet class, I sat at the kitchen table staring at my laptop. I opened a new email. To Ava subject. Us, I typed, deleted, retyped. Words came and went like tides, rising with anger, receding with grief. "I know," I wrote, then erased it. "Please be honest with me." Delete. "I miss you." Backspace. What was I hoping to accomplish? A confession? An apology? A reset? Instead, I just wrote, "I see you pulling away. I feel it every day, and I know there's someone else." My fingers hovered above the keyboard. I could hit send, but I didn't, because the truth wasn't meant to be delivered digitally. It deserved a voice, or at the very least, an eye-to-eye reckoning. So I saved the draft, just to get the poison out of my system. I closed the laptop and walked around the house. Our house, the one we painted together, the one where we fought over curtain colors and laughed at how bad we were at assembling furniture. Everything still looked the same, but it felt like a museum now, a monument to what we used to be. Every couch cushion held a memory, every picture frame a ghost. I sat on the couch and picked up the remote, then put it down again. I didn't want distraction. I wanted clarity. And for the first time, I admitted something I'd been avoiding for months. This wasn't a rough patch. This was the end of something, and maybe the beginning of something else. I just didn't know what yet. The confession came by accident. Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe part of her wanted to be caught, wanted the burden to fall off her shoulders without having to lift it herself. It was a Wednesday evening. She came home late, said the meeting ran over. Her hair was too perfect, her blouse too crisp for a long day. She poured herself wine without offering me any and leaned against the counter, scrolling again. I asked her gently, "Did you eat already?" She blinked, startled, then nodded too quickly. "Yeah, I grabbed something with..." She paused. Kara. The pause was everything. Ava was never good at lying. She thought she was, but she gave herself away in microseconds, in the way her voice hitched, or her hands busied themselves when there was nothing to clean. I said nothing, just nodded. But something in her shifted. Her shoulders slumped. She looked down into her glass like it might answer for her. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she said quietly. My breath caught in my throat. I hadn't asked the question, but the answer had arrived. She still didn't look at me. It was just, I felt invisible, and he made me feel seen. There it was. Not just the betrayal, but the reason behind it. And somehow, that hurt more than the act itself. Because I tried. God knows I tried. But sometimes, love gets drowned out by the noise of life. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I nodded. Not out of forgiveness, not yet, but because the mask had finally slipped, and I needed to see her, really see her, before deciding what came next. That night, I didn't sleep, not out of pain, but out of clarity. Some endings don't explode. They just arrive quietly, in the space between words you didn't say and the ones you finally did. We didn't fight that night. No screaming, no tears. Just silence. Heavy and honest. The next morning, she made coffee like she always did. Set the mug down in front of me, just like old times. But this time, our hands didn't brush. Our eyes didn't meet. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice barely audible. I nodded, but not convincingly. "I don't know what to do," she said. Neither did I. There wasn't a rule book for this kind of quiet collapse. So we danced around each other for days, civil, kind even, but no longer lovers, no longer partners, just two people sharing a house and a daughter. Lily was the only glue that held routine together. Her laughter in the mornings, her drawings, her questions. She made the space feel alive, even as we died inside it. One night, Ava asked, "Do you think we should talk to someone? Like a therapist?" She nodded. "Maybe," I said. "But what would we be trying to fix?" She didn't answer, just looked away. And in that look I knew we weren't broken, we were finished. But the hardest part wasn't the betrayal. It was realizing that love alone wasn't enough. That effort, history, and a child couldn't always stitch two people back together. So we sat in that truth for a while. Together. But not really. In the space between goodbye and actually leaving. And sometimes that space is lonelier than being alone. We went to therapy. A small office with pale green walls and a ticking clock that filled every silence. The therapist was kind, soft-spoken, the kind of person who could sit in stillness without rushing to fill it. Ava did most of the talking at first. She spoke about loneliness, about pressure, about motherhood, about how she felt more like a shadow than a person. I listened, really listened, not just to the words, but to the sadness behind them, the disappointment, the unmet expectations neither of us had ever spoken aloud. Then it was my turn. I talked about effort, about loyalty, about trying to hold everything together even when my hands were shaking, about how I never stopped loving her. But somewhere along the way, I stopped showing it the right way. The therapist asked, "What are you hoping to get out of this?" Ava said, "Clarity." I said, "Closure." We looked at each other, and that's when I knew. We weren't there to fix the marriage. We were there to say goodbye with grace. And it hurt. God, it hurt. Because there was still love, still respect, still memories that made us both smile. But sometimes, endings aren't about hate. They're about finally accepting that two people who once fit no longer do. We left the session without holding hands, but we didn't slam the door. We just closed it softly. The day we told Lily was the hardest day of my life. We sat her down on the couch between us. Ava held one of her hands. I held the other. And still, I felt 1,000 miles away. "Sweetheart," Ava began, "Mommy and Daddy need to talk to you about something important." Lily's eyes were wide, searching. She clutched her stuffed giraffe like it might explain things better than we could. I took a breath. "Mommy and Daddy love you very, very much. That will never change. But we've decided that we're going to live in different houses soon." Her bottom lip trembled. "Like a sleepover?" Ava smiled, tears already brimming. "Something like that. But longer." Lily looked at both of us. "Did I do something bad?" "No, no, baby," I said quickly. "This isn't your fault, not even a little bit." She was quiet for a long time. Then she whispered, "Will we still eat pancakes on Saturdays?" That nearly broke me. I nodded. "Always. Pancakes and cartoons, even if it's in 2 different kitchens." She didn't cry, not right away. She just curled into my side and held tight, as if trying to hold the family together with her little arms. That night, after she went to bed, Ava and I sat on the porch. 2 cups of untouched tea, one universe splitting quietly in 2. "You were always a good dad," she said softly. "You were a good mom," I replied. And for a moment, in that sliver of peace, we weren't a broken couple. We were just 2 people who once loved deeply and still wanted to do right by the little girl who reminded us of that love every day. The day I moved out was oddly quiet. No yelling, no last-minute fights, just the sound of tape being pulled from its roll and boxes sliding across hardwood floors. I didn't take everything, just the essentials. Some clothes, my books, a few framed pictures of Lily. I left the rest, not out of bitterness, but because it didn't feel like mine anymore. Ava helped, not because she had to, because we were still trying to be kind. She handed me a box and said, "You forgot your record player." I smiled faintly. "I always thought it belonged more to you." She didn't argue. When the car was loaded, we stood by the door, both of us unsure if we should hug or wave or just turn around. Instead, she said, "I hope you find peace." I nodded. "You too." It wasn't cinematic. No rain, no dramatic music, just 2 people letting go without fanfare. I drove to the small apartment I'd signed the lease on 2 weeks before. It was modest. 2 bedrooms, quiet street, the kind of place meant for healing. I set Lily's picture on the nightstand. Her smile grounded me. That night, I lay in a bed that didn't creak the same way, in a room that didn't smell like us. But I slept. For the first time in months, I slept without waking in panic. Not because the pain was gone, but because the pretending was. I started writing letters, not emails, not texts, actual pen-on-paper letters to Ava, to Lily, to myself. I didn't send them. That wasn't the point. They were therapy, a way to release what therapy couldn't reach. "Dear Ava," one began, "I don't hate you. I miss the girl you were when we danced in the kitchen to music we both hated. I miss how your laugh cracked open the room. But I don't miss the silence that swallowed us whole." Another to Lily. "One day you'll ask why Daddy doesn't live with Mommy. I hope I'll have the right words. But even if I don't, know this, you were always loved. You were never the reason. Some letters I burned. Some I kept in a drawer. The act of writing was enough. It helped me find pieces of myself buried beneath years of compromise and unspoken resentment. I began jogging in the mornings, cooking actual meals, calling old friends I'd let drift away. It wasn't a grand rebirth. It was quiet, uneven. Some days still hurt like hell. But the pain felt honest now, not wrapped in layers of denial. One evening, while organizing the apartment, I found a photo strip, Ava and me at a county fair years ago. Silly faces, wind-blown hair. I smiled, not with bitterness, with gratitude. Because that version of us was real once. And even though it ended, it didn't mean it hadn't mattered. Some things just aren't meant to last. But that doesn't make them any less beautiful. It had been 3 months since the separation when Ava showed up at my door. I was in sweatpants, halfway through folding laundry, when the knock came. She stood there holding a small envelope and looking unsure of herself. Not sad, just vulnerable. "Can I come in for a minute?" she asked. I stepped aside. She sat at the edge of the couch, scanning the apartment like it held secrets she hadn't earned access to. "I'm not here to reopen anything," she said. "Just wanted to give you this." She handed me the envelope. It was a drawing, Lily's, a stick figure version of me, Ava, and her, all holding hands beneath a rainbow. The caption read, "My family, even if different now." I stared at it, heart twisted in ways I hadn't expected. "She made it at school," Ava said softly. "Her teacher asked them to draw something that makes them feel safe." There it was. Not vengeance, not regret. Just a reminder that love, even broken, still echoes through the smallest hands. I nodded. "Thank you." Ava stood to leave. At the door, she hesitated. "You're doing okay?" "I'm trying," I said. She nodded. "Me too." Then she was gone. And for the first time, her absence didn't ache. It just settled, like the final page of a long, hard chapter. And I realized, healing isn't a finish line. It's the quiet space where pain no longer writes your story. Spring came slowly that year. The trees outside my apartment bloomed late, as if they too were hesitant to begin again. Lily visited every other weekend. We'd play in the park, build pillow forts, eat way too many pancakes. I made her laugh until milk came out of her nose once. She called me gross and hugged me tighter. Life wasn't perfect. Some nights were still too quiet. Some mornings, the bed still felt too big. But I was beginning to enjoy the silence, not as absence, but as space. A place where I could finally hear my own thoughts. One Sunday, I sat with Lily on a bench near the lake. She was sketching birds with a little notepad. She looked up and said, "Daddy?" "Yeah, Bug. Are you happy?" The question caught me off guard. Not because she asked, but because I didn't need to lie. I looked at her. At the breeze in her hair, the crayon on her cheek, the sparkle in her eyes. "I think I'm learning how to be," I said. She smiled, satisfied, and went back to drawing. And I knew then, this was the new beginning. Not flashy, not dramatic. Just quiet, earned peace. Not the life I once imagined, but maybe, just maybe, a better one. Because from the ashes of what broke, I had built something honest, something real. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't just surviving, I was living. Some stories don't end with grand gestures or perfect closures. Some just end quietly, like a soft rain washing away the dust. If you've ever loved someone who broke you, or if you've ever rebuilt your life from scattered pieces, you're not alone. This story isn't just mine. It's for anyone who stayed too long, for anyone who walked away, for anyone who chose peace over pride. And if you're still in the storm, still finding your way through the wreckage, just know, healing isn't linear. Some days, it hurts like hell. Other days, the sun breaks through just enough. Keep going. Not because they deserve it, but because you do. If this story touched you, share it. Someone out there might need to hear it. And if you've ever found strength in your own brokenness, tell us your story in the comments. We heal better when we heal together.